Xi Jinping just rolled out another one of those grand strategies to save the Chinese economy. And this time, it comes wrapped in state control rhetoric with a dash of desperation. He wants to boost innovation, shield domestic companies, and of course, push back against U.S. pressure. So far, so predictable. The problem? On the geopolitical chessboard, this move has direct consequences for Europe. Yep, the same Europe that's still trying to figure out how to pay its energy bills, reindustrialize, and deal with a war on its doorstep. On paper, it sounds nice, high-quality development, structural reform, stable growth. In reality, it's a race against time to keep the world's second-largest economy from sinking under a tidal wave of debt, a real estate bubble, and a population aging faster than the yuan is dropping. But why should Europe care? Because while China's sketching out its grand recovery, the economic shockwave might slam right into the old continent. Get ready for retaliatory tariffs, supply shortages, and a flood of unsold Chinese goods crashing into European markets. When she talks about protecting Chinese industry, he's not politely asking global powers to play fair with WTO rules. What he's saying is, he'll subsidize every last bolt and circuit board if that's what it takes to win this economic war with the U.S. And guess where all those protected products, the ones Americans won't buy, are going to end up? You guessed it, right here in Europe. From batteries and solar panels to EVs and microchips, China's about to dump its surplus production on us like there's no tomorrow. It's not dumping, it's strategy. And Europe, with its climate goals, green dreams, and industrial ambitions, is standing at a crossroads. Either slap on tariffs and lose access to cheap goods, or keep the doors open and watch its industries get wiped out. The worst part? We're already behind. While she rolls out 5-year plans and pours state capital into strategic sectors, Europe's still debating whether or not to tax Chinese solar panels. Meanwhile, what's left of European industry is suffocating under the weight of a game played by entirely different rules. The U.S. hits China with sanctions, restrictions, and tariffs. China hits back with industrial policy, forced innovation, and tighter alliances with the global south. And caught in the middle of all this? Europe. Europe's watching the U.S.-China brawl like a shopkeeper, hoping the fight doesn't spill into their storefront. Spoiler alert, it already has. European companies dependent on Chinese raw materials and semiconductors are dealing with serious bottlenecks. And those tied to the U.S. market are constantly on edge, afraid they'll get hit by the next round of sanctions. Here's the irony. Europe's now scrambling to catch up with projects like European Industrial Sovereignty and the CHIPS Act. But with what money? With what industrial base? While the U.S. lures factories back home with billions in subsidies and China injects cash into its national champions, Europe is still stuck arguing over environmental regulations and fiscal rules. And the outcome? Predictable. Either Europe picks a side, which means aligning with U.S. foreign policy at a massive cost, or tries to stay in the middle and ends up a target for both. Germany, the industrial powerhouse of Europe, is the clearest example of how costly this forced neutrality really is. With deep ties to both China and the U.S., Berlin is trying to balance spinning plates that are moving at totally different speeds. Germany relies on China to sell cars, buy batteries, and keep its supply chains running. But it also depends on U.S. security, the American market, and the dollar as a stabilizing force. So when the U.S. tightens the screws on Beijing, Berlin goes into panic mode. Can't piss off Washington, but can't afford to lose Beijing either. And the bill's already due. The auto industry is hurting. The machinery and engineering sectors are taking hits. Investments are on hold. And the European consumer? They're paying twice, once for pricier goods, and again through local job losses. While Xi Jinping announces his grand plans with a calculated smile and eyes set on the future, Europe needs to stop watching this like it's just another show. There's no more room for geopolitical naivety. China isn't just saving its economy. It's rewriting the rules of global trade. And if Europe keeps snoozing, it's going to wake up to shuttered factories, outsourced jobs, and its autonomy hanging by a thread. Europe's response needs to be fast, coordinated, and, most importantly, grounded in reality. Forget 10-year plans that never leave the drawing board. Forget bureaucratic nonsense that blocks state investment. China's not waiting. China plays to win, and the U.S. plays hardball. If Europe wants a seat at the table, and not just be the menu, it needs to invest heavily in innovation, infrastructure, local production, and strategic alliances. It needs to rethink its industrial policy, redefine its global role, and understand that the era of nice, cozy consensus is over. Wake up, Europe. She's already made his move. And the referee? He's not neutral. Xi Jinping made his move. The U.S. has already fired back. And Europe? Still stuck in meetings. So what do you think? Let's open this up in the comments. Is Europe ready to face this new economic order? Should it start playing tough or keep being the weakest link? Do you think China is really saving its economy? Or just exporting its problems? Drop your thoughts below, share this video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We need to talk about this, and the more voices we get in this conversation, the harder it'll be to ignore what's actually going on. Because while you're listening to this, Xi's already putting his plan into action.